I'd like to continue our discussion of the story of Samson in chapter 16 of the book of Judges. At this point, Samson is going down to Gaza, which is controlled by the Philistines. So again, the enemy of the Jewish people. They were constantly kind of battling back and forth, but Samson doesn't seem to mind to go down there, and he visits a harlot down there. But the men of Gaza surround him at the village gate, and they're deciding, well, maybe we should take care of this guy. But it's at night, and apparently they abandon their post there at the gate, but the gate is locked. And so I guess they figure Samson will be locked in, he can't get out. Gate is locked pretty well. But Samson, strong guy that he is, tears the two gates and the gateposts loose, and he puts them on his shoulders, and he carries them to the top of the ridge opposite Hebron, which is 40 miles away. So, quite a journey by Samson there, 40 miles. But possibly some scholars look at this and say, well, maybe it's just that it's in the direction of Hebron. Not all the way the 40 miles, but going there and depositing them on a ridge somewhere outside of Gaza. But in any case, Samson has no problem escaping the supposed trap, which, why they didn't, I guess, stay up or surround him, but he has no problem getting out of Gaza. So Samson continues his, I don't know if you could call them romantic or maybe just lustful adventures. And he falls in love with a woman in the Wadi Sorek. Her name is given as Delilah, which is interesting. Literal translation would be traitress. So we have a traitor, she's a traitress. And so maybe it's more of a description of what she actually winds up doing to Samson than her name. But the lords of the Philistines, they go to Delilah and they say, well, find out his secret. What's the secret of his strength? And then they could bind up Samson. And each of the lords would give Delilah 1,100 shekels. So Delilah is going to be one rich woman if she's able to do this. So Delilah is not too motivated here by love. She's more motivated, obviously, by the money than love for Samson. So Delilah says, well, Samson, what's the secret of your strength? How could you be bound here? What's the deal here? What's happening? So Samson says that he can be bound with 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried. So the lords of the Philistines, they give Delilah these 7 fresh bowstrings that had not been dried, and they think, well, this is going to be good. So Delilah bound Samson with them. But she has men lying in wait in the chamber, figuring, hey, he's going to be bound, and these men can take him, and I'll get my shekels. So she says to Samson, the Philistines are on you, Samson. So Samson snaps these strings, and the scriptures describe it interestingly as thread of tow is severed by a whiff of flame. So that's how easily these strings are snapped by Samson. So the secret of his strength is still now unknown. Samson, at this point, probably thinks Delilah was just kidding. He's told her she's trying these things out to see if they really work, and he's not taking it too seriously because he has no concept that men are lying in the chamber to actually take him. If he's all bound there, they could just take him, and he has no idea that the men are there. So he's just, she's playing this little game. I'll play along with her, just as a fun thing. So Delilah says, hey, Samson, you're mocking me. You haven't told me, you're telling me lies. Yeah, how really can you be bound? He says, well, Delilah, if I was bound tight with new ropes that had never been used for any work at all, I'd be just like any man. So they're new ropes, never been used. So Delilah took new ropes, bound him. Once again, Delilah said to Samson, the Philistines are on you, Samson. Again, there were men waiting for him in the chamber, and at this point, Obviously, Samson's sleeping. So Samson snaps them off like they're threads. So again, Samson has no problem with the new ropes. Delilah once again said that, Samson, you're mocking me. She asked him, how may you be bound, really, Samson? This time he tells her that if you were to weave his 7 locks of hair into the web and fasten them with a pin, he would be as weak as any man. So this is a little bit of a more complicated procedure involving his hair. So we're getting a little bit closer to a source of his strength. So Delilah tries this with a loom attached to the earth. But when she cried out to Samson that the Philistines were upon him, he just pulled out the weaver's pin, the web, no problem at all, even though it was pretty substantial and attached to the earth. No problem for Samson. So Delilah now is getting really upset and says, hey, Samson, if you truly love me, you would tell me, wouldn't you? We're just trying to find out here. So she was persistent. She kept after him and after him and after him. So Samson gets tired of all that nagging. He finally took her into his confidence and told her about his vow, his Nazirite vow, about the hair not being cut, and that he would lose his strength if his hair is shaved. Now Samson, in telling someone this, is really violating his vow. So the real concept here is about the vow. Why did Samson violate it and tell Delilah? If he took his vow seriously, he would never have told Delilah. So that's the underlying reality, is the importance of when you make a vow to the Lord, keep your vow to the Lord, which we saw earlier with Jephthah making his vow. Well, Delilah tells the lords of the Philistines that Samson had opened his heart to her. Beautiful expression. She opens his heart to Samson. So they brought the money with them, the 1,100 shekels from each of the lords. Delilah had Samson sleep in her lap. Oh, Samson, just fall asleep in my lap and be nice. She's cutting his locks while he's sleeping. That's very nice, right? When Delilah called out once again that the Philistines were upon him, Samson thought that he could make good his escape as he had previously, but he did not realize that the Lord had left him. Now you might ask, why did the Lord leave him? The Lord left him because he had violated his vow. He wasn't faithful to what he had promised to God. So the Philistines seized him, overpowered him, gouged out his eyes, brought him down to Gaza, bound him with bronze fetters. He was put to grinding in the prison. That was his punishment. He'd be grinding in the prison. But the hair of his head begins to grow again. Hair can grow back, right? And I guess the Philistines were not too cognizant of this or aware of this. So we are going to see what happens when that hair grows back once again.